Dame Agatha Christie's works have been outsold only by Shakespeare and the Bible. She is indeed the best-selling novelist of all time. Her thrilling stories of mystery and intrigue transport readers back to the golden age of detective fiction and to lavish locales from the stately manors of Great Britain to the pyramids of Egypt. Our story, however, takes place last Thursday in Sherman Oaks, California.
Your full name is Miles Edward Merbeneau?
That's right, Merbeneau.
And you live here alone?
Yep, all alone in this my castle. The last of the Merbeneaus.
The last?
Yeah, I know, Mohican sounds better, but there it is.
No, I mean you have no children, no siblings?
No other living relatives, in fact, except one cousin in Arizona. He's a financial analyst in Phoenix, Lee Merbeneau. At least I think this guy's my cousin. Actually, I'm just assuming that because he's the only other Merbeneau I could find on Google. Looked like there was one other, but it turned out to be a typo for a plumber named Merbeneck. Should I lay down?
What?
On my couch here. I mean, isn't that what I'd do if I were in your office? Lay down on the couch?
No, actually, there's no couch in my office.
No couch?
No.
Really? Wow. Budget cuts, huh?
Please, feel free to lie down.
No, actually, I prefer to stay sitting up.
Well, that's fine. Mr. Merbeneau, do you know why I'm here?
No. Don't you? I can at least tell you that.
Mr. Merbeneau, I know very well why I'm here. I want to know if you know.
Oh, no, I don't.
Well, I was sent from the county to find out...
to find out if I'm nuts.
Well, no.
Well, isn't that what you do? Find out if people are nuts?
In certain cases, I'm required to assess the psychological state of certain individuals.
But not in my case.
No. But since you brought it up, are you?
What?
Nuts. Do you think you're nuts?
Wow! You've got a hell of a lot of nerve.
I'm only using your own words.
That's not what I meant.
What then?
You're paid big money to find out one single thing about me, and you expect me to give you the answer just like that for nothing.
I'm not here to determine your sanity. I'm just here to ask a couple of questions so that we might better understand your recent behavior.
What recent behavior?
The little matter you discussed down at the police station.
Oh, you want to know about those people?
What people?
Do you want a Pop-Tart? I've got some in the kitchen.
Mr. Merbeneau, what people?
The people. The people I killed.
People you killed?
Yes. 5 of them.
You killed 5 people?
Yeah, well, 4, actually. I mean, 5 only if necessary.
I don't understand. I don't have anything in my records here about you killing 4, let alone 5 people.
Well, yeah, I didn't actually kill them, but I attempted to.
I don't understand. I don't have anything about that.
Well, I planned it.
You planned?
I planned the attempt to kill them.
You planned the attempt?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, why would you want to kill 4 or 5 people?
Well, because they went to see the mousetrap.
What?
That is, they would have by the time I killed them.
Because they went to see a mousetrap?
Not a mousetrap. The mousetrap. The mousetrap. Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap.
Oh, the play.
Have you seen it?
Well, no, but I recall reading something about it being one of the longest running...
The longest. The longest. The longest running play in theater history.
And it's been running since?
November 25th, 1952.
Must be a very good show.
It's terrible.
Terrible?
Simply awful.
Oh, really?
A steaming pile of crap.
If it's such a bad show, why has it been running for so long?
Why has it been running so... Why are reality shows popular? Why does anyone move to Ohio? It's a mad world we live in, Doctor. You must know that.
Oh, I take it you're not much of an Agatha Christie fan.
Not much of... I love Agatha Christie. Love! She was amazing. The greatest mystery writer of the Golden Age. Well, maybe second to John Dixon Carr, but it was close. Very close. How about that alibi setup in Death on the Nile? Ingenious. And then there were none. Oh, often, so often imitated, but never even close to equaled. And Murder on the Orient Express. Well, actually, kind of an odd choice to film once, let alone twice, even without that mustache. One murder in a train that doesn't move, but a tour de force nonetheless.
But
And she turned the whole genre upside down with the murder of Roger Ackroyd, huh? Upside down. Screw Edmund Wilson, eh?
Edmund who?
Even witness for the prosecution. Though I don't think Dietrich pulled it off in the film.
But the mousetrap.
Oh yeah, the mouse crap. crap. All the superficial trimmings of a great Christie work with none of the ingenuity like a Tesla without a battery. Cardboard characters, cliched situations, stilted humor, and a surprise twist anyone could see coming a mile off.
Which is?
Well, I couldn't tell you that. Don't you know about that? At the end of the show, after the audience has suffered 2 hours of unparalleled tedium, they're asked to promise not to reveal the ending, this twist that backward 6-year-olds have predicted before the intermission. And they keep that promise. Why? Because they're British, and it's a promise, and it's a tradition. Besides, it would be bad luck to give the ending away.
Bad luck.
Oh yeah, the theater is a temple of superstition. Few places on earth to match it. For instance, take that one about Shakespeare's Scottish play.
Oh, you mean...
Yeah, I know actors who'd sooner dip their elbows in fire than utter the title of that show in the theater. In fact, I heard there was one local theater group in Wyoming that didn't realize the taboo against saying the title name of the Scottish play doesn't apply when you're actually doing the Scottish play. They spent the whole run awkwardly dancing around mentioning the king's name. The reviews weren't good. I also heard there was a growing trend to call Hamlet the Danish play, but too many audiences came in expecting baked goods.
Please, Mr. Mervyn, the mousetrap.
Yeah, it sucks.
I get that, but how could somebody as brilliant as Agatha Christie write something as bad as what you say it is?
I don't know. That's the mystery. The great Agatha Christie mystery. Perhaps her greatest. Who knows? Maybe she just wrote it on an off day.
An off day?
Yeah, they all have them. Hitchcock directed Under Capricorn. Faulkner wrote Pylon. Beethoven composed the Arcadian Promenade.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, well, I just made that last one up. But I'm pretty sure. But in his last years, he wrote a song or two that he wouldn't want to listen to, even if he could. Or maybe she didn't write it at all.
What?
Maybe she didn't write it.
You're suggesting that Agatha Christie didn't write Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap?
Well, perhaps she was fronting for a blacklisted American screenwriter. It was 1952, the year fits. Who'd call Agatha Christie a commie, huh?
I hardly think.
Look, it's just a theory. It's not important. The point is, her name is on it. It's been running 65 years now, which is 65 years longer than it's had any right to.
Yes, but is that any justification for killing 5 people?
Of course not! Who said anything about... Oh, did you think that Oh, no. No. I guess I better explain.
I think you'd better.
Yeah, well, Agatha Christie wrote The Mousetrap in 1952, see? She bequeathed the show's theatrical rights to her grandson, Matthew. 4 years later, the film rights to the play were sold. It's been called the worst movie deal in history.
Why?
Because included in those rights is the condition that no film can be made of the property until the original London production has been closed for 6 months.
Oh, I see.
Yes, you do, don't you? No one can know at that time that this stupid little show would outlive Christie, outlive her daughter, outlive the Soviet Union, outlive the 20th century, outlive Fidel Castro, outlive Zsa Zsa Gabor, outlive friggin' Radio Shack! And that the person who owned the film rights to it will be sitting on a gold mine that can't be opened until the damn thing is closed.
And?
I am that person!
You mean...
I own the film rights to The Mousetrap! Yes!
Well, how did you get them?
Well, I inherited them from my father.
How did he get them?
Well,
Was he in the film industry?
no,
Oh, literary field, perhaps.
not precisely.
What was his occupation?
Dry cleaner.
Right. In London?
No, Van Nuys.
Van Nuys here in California?
Yeah, right down the road.
So how does a Van Nuys dry cleaner acquire the rights to a play written by a famous British mystery writer?
Well, I'm not sure, but I have a theory.
I'm sure you do.
My father was born in 1926. Does that year strike a familiar chord?
Shouldn't.
Well, in December of 1926, Agatha Christie disappeared for 11 days. At the end of those 11 days, she was discovered in a hotel in Yorkshire, registered under an assumed name, and with apparently no memory of what occurred during that time. Do you see where I'm going with this?
I'm worried that I do.
Christie gave the theatrical rights to her legal grandson, Matthew. But then when she realized how valuable property it would be, she saw to it that the film rights would go to her illegitimate grandson.
Illegitimate?
Me, the son of her illegitimate child. You see, the common theory is that she had a breakdown when her husband left her for another woman. But I think that story was given to the press by Colonel Christie as an act of chivalry. I think it was actually she who strayed.
And the child's father?
Some hapless valet or stable boy she seduced. She was quite the temptress.
Agatha Christie.
What, that's so hard to believe?
Well, I never really envisioned her as a femme fatale.
Never envisioned? What femme is more fatale than Agatha Christie? Queen of crime, mistress of murder.
But I didn't mean
And
that.
she had great legs.
How do you know that?
Well, I know for sure, but I really don't think it was her face.
I hardly think 11 days is long enough.
To have a child and give it away, it's plenty.
But it would have already been obvious that she was with child.
Oh, come on. In the clothes they wore back then in England?
You really think?
Look, it's just a theory. It's not important. What is important is that I'm my late father's sole heir, and I've inherited all of his worldly goods, which after all expenses were paid came down to about $6,200 in cash, 39 years back issue to the Popular Mechanics, and the film rights to The Mousetrap.
But what value are the film rights to a bad play?
Are you kidding? The longest running play in theater history. That's all that matters. By the time Spielberg, Tarantino, whoever gets through with it, there won't be much left over except the title and a few character names. They'll get Meryl Streep to play Mrs. Boyle. Leonardo DiCaprio as Sergeant Trotter. Maybe Will Ferrell as Christopher Wren. Add 3D, a CGI ski chase down a snow-capped mountainside, a lush title song by Taylor Swift, and voila! Next year's blockbuster hit, J.J. Abrams' The Mousetrap.
Yes, but even the biggest Hollywood names are no guarantee of success.
I don't care. I don't care whether the show is a hit or a flop. I'm not working for a percentage here. I'll take my few cool millions off the top for the rights and let them do what they will with it. I mean, I'm not greedy.
You're not greedy. Mr. Murmino, you obviously value money over human life.
But look, Doc, I tried every other way of closing this show without harming a soul.
Such as?
Well, to start off, I started off with word of mouth. I mean, if good word of mouth is the best publicity, then bad word of mouth must be the worst, right? I was simply going to bad mouth the show to death. But I couldn't afford to be subtle. I mean, if I wanted to do it, I wanted to get it effectively done, I had to charge right into the belly of the beast.
Which was?
The forecourt of the St. Martin's Theatre, London. Evening, mate.
Evening.
Gonna go see the show?
Yeah.
Ever seen it before?
No. Can you believe I lived in London all my life, just never got around to it?
Well, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
I mean, you shouldn't.
Why not?
It's a very bad show.
Oh, come on. I thought it's a brilliant show.
Well, that's Bullock's.
That's what?
Bullock's.
You mean box?
Yeah, it's both. You won't like it.
Look, don't you know it's the longest running show in history?
Yeah, so I've heard.
Well, if it's so bad, why has it been running so long?
Why has it been? Why are reality shows popular? Why does anyone move to Northumberland? Take my word for it, buddy. It's a steaming pile of the bollocks.
Look, you have right to your opinion, but I'm still...
Look, listen. At the end of the show, they're going to ask you to keep secret the big surprise ending. And you know what that big surprise is? The murderer is... And I told him right then and there who it was.
Who? Oh, that's right. You're not going to tell me because it's bad luck.
That's right.
But even you don't think that's true.
Yes, now I know it's true. You know what happened when I told him? He said...
Get away! You're having a bath. It can't be.
No, it is. That's the ending of The
I
Mousetrap.
don't believe you. There's no way that it could actually... Wait a minute. Oh, I get it. Brilliant! This is brilliant!
What?
Oh, you had me going. I thought you was dumb. I'm gonna have to call you off to the hospital. Don't go see the mousetrap. This is brilliant. So the show starts out here, eh? It's so popular.
No. I really meant it.
You're good. This is brilliant. I'm having a great time already.
No.
And the Yank accent had me going. I mean, it's not perfect, but you had me going. Cheers, mate.
And he went back into the theater, went right into the theater, still thinking I was a brilliant, ingeniously designed feature of the show. Maybe he still does, but I wasn't going to let this one little failure deter me. So I cleared my throat, and I began shouting out the ending of the mousetrap to everyone passing by the theater, at the top of my lungs, too. At first, the theater staff pleaded with me to stop, but after a while, they just let me go on with it, because it turns out I wasn't hurting business at all. Indeed, I was calling attention to the show. I was a freaking barker. The box office take for that evening increased by 7%. The next night I went at it again, and it was up by 23%. The third evening, I gave up on it and stayed home. I must have let it slip out that I was staying at the Park Lane Hotel, because by 8:40 that night, I received a call from the theater management asking me why I hadn't shown up.
So, according to your story, your plan backfired to the point of making you an actual asset to the production.
According to my story? What, you think I'm making this up?
What? A 20% box office increase due to some loud shouting is a little difficult to believe.
23%.
Even more difficult. And I'm no expert in British culture, but I do know that no one who has lived their whole life in London says to the hospital.
To hospital. To the hospital. That's one word of difference.
It's a significant indicator.
Look, if you don't believe me, check out this item from the London Times next day, huh? It mentions me by name. Miles Edward Mervino, and calls me an irate American bent on revealing the surprise solution of this classic stage thriller. But you'll note the Times itself took care not to reveal that solution. Oh no, heaven forbid, can't have that.
Okay, so that didn't work. What was next for you?
Well, I changed tactics. I decided to next try the legal approach. I stayed in London, and having written a pleasant letter of legal inquiry, found myself only 2 weeks later in the plush offices of the firm of Sim, Spencer, and McClellan, solicitors.
Mr. Mervinu.
Mervino.
Mervino, forgive me.
Well, Mr. McClellan, I understand your firm represents the interest of the St. Martin's Theater and his production of Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap.
Yes, we've administered all legal matters pertaining to the Mousetrap since its opening in 1952.
Yes. Well, I have a document here which I'm afraid prohibits the continuation of this production.
Wait a minute.
What is it?
How do the film rights prohibit the theatrical production?
Oh, no, these aren't the film rights. This is another document.
Another document? What document?
Well, a codicil to Agatha Christie's will stipulating that by 1983, Matthew Pritchard must donate 1/3 of his accumulated financial assets to the Welsh Coal Miners Retirement Trust Fund.
The Welsh Coal Miners Where did this document come from?
I made it.
You made it? You mean you forged it?
Well, forgery is an ugly word.
Wait a minute, Mr. Mervino. I thought you said this was going to be a legal approach.
That's right.
No, forgery is not legal. In fact, it's blatantly illegal.
Oh, no, you misunderstood me. By legal, I didn't mean according to the law. I meant pertaining to the law. Through legal channels, that is.
Oh, my God. But how did you think you were going to get away with it? They would have seen through that forgery immediately.
Oh, you underrate my skill. And you underrate the power of the internet. I tell you, anyone who derides the educational possibilities of the web has obviously never needed to produce a convincing falsified will in under 2 weeks. I found info on everything from signature duplication to typesetting, even how to effectively age the paper stock. I did a pretty good job. The legalese was a bit tricky, I'll admit, but luckily I found an example I was able to copy nearly verbatim. It was actually a document preventing the distribution of a laxative formula, but the necessary word substitutions were surprisingly few.
Yes, but it would have undoubtedly been seen through eventually.
Well, that's fine. All I needed was a temporary discontinuation. Even a single canceled performance would break its run of the longest run in history. I mean, that would be enough to kill the momentum. To break the spell, it couldn't go on much longer after that.
Yes, but what did you plan to do once they had discovered the forgery?
Well, I'd simply apologize, tell them I'd been duped, maybe blame some greedy Welsh miners.
But he saw through it right away, didn't he? And I presume it was a moment of blistering humiliation.
That I would very much like to see.
What?
The document. May I see?
Oh, yes, of course.
Thank you. Let's see here.
I should point out that I'm here on behest of a group of concerned citizens of the greater Swansea area.
Yes, this is a very interesting paper indeed. Let's see, 1/3 of all holdings, and is that Welsh coal miners?
Yeah, in fact, I'm afraid there's still a slight smudge of coal dust on page 3.
However, I'm afraid that the original licensing agreement makes the point entirely moot anyway.
Oh, why is that?
Well, you mentioned the mousetrap in your letter, so I prepared for your visit by retrieving these from our files. I can show you what I mean. I think you'll find that right here... Oh, that's odd.
What is it?
Well, it's just... Oh, how could we have missed that? Extraordinary. Oh, extraordinary.
As you could see, it was a moment of pure suspense. Hitchcock couldn't have bettered it. I wasn't nervous, though, for you see, whatever it was that disturbed him, it was something he noticed on his papers, not on mine.
Yes, I noticed that.
For all I knew, it was something that would require the show to close without any help from me.
And was it anything like that?
Ah, no.
I can't believe that we missed this all these years. I mean, of course, we've had little reason to overlook these papers, but still, extraordinary.
What is it? Will the show have to close?
Oh, no, Mr. Mervyn, no. No, in transferring the rights, Miss Christie relinquished all control over the production. Thus, no codicil to her will could possibly have any effect on the show's run, regardless of her sentiments towards Welsh coal miners.
But then what is it you just noticed?
Well, it seems that someone had the foresight to include a proviso that in the event that the production should be transferred to a venue of more than 500 seats, the per capita royalties would be reduced by 1% for each 50-seat increase in capacity. It's a volume discount, so to speak.
Meaning just what?
Meaning that we were evidently not thorough in our contract review when the mousetrap moved from the 444-seat Ambassadors Theatre to the 550-seat St. Martin's in 1974. So that since that time, the management of the St. Martin's has been making royalty overpayments of, well, over the last 43 years must no doubt be into the hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Hundreds of thousands?
Which, of course, we will take prompt steps to reclaim for the theatre. Yes, it looks like the mousetrap set will get some long-awaited refurbishments this year. The cast may even get a pay rise, for which we, of course, have you, Mr. Mervyn, to thank for calling to my attention.
Stop that! It's not funny!
Oh, come on! You went there to bring them down, and instead you served to grease the wheels of the production, but this time for hundreds and thousands of pounds. Surely you must see the irony in that.
Yeah, I see the irony, I just don't see the humor.
Take my word for it. It's funny. But wait, there is still one thing I don't understand.
Join the club.
He mentioned that the play was transferred to the St. Martin's from another theater. I mean, wouldn't that be exactly what you were looking for? Wouldn't that give you an interruption in the play's spell?
No, because you see, it closed at the Ambassadors on a Saturday and resumed at the St. Martin's the following Monday. And since London theaters are closed on Sundays, well, there was absolutely no gap in performances.
Ah, I see. Well, 2 down. What was next for you?
Well, I quickly grabbed back the papers, and once I had left the theater, not more than a few feet away, I made the decision.
What decision?
The decision. I had tried public opinion. I had tried the law. And if what I'd already tried hadn't worked, well, rain dances and voodoo dolls weren't going to do the trick either. Agatha Christie wrote the play, but it fell to me to ponder the bumper sticker, WWAD. What would Agatha do? And the answer came back clearly and unequivocally.
Murder.
Murder.
But who to kill?
Precisely. I mean, I first thought of killing the cast or crew of the show, but that wouldn't work. With my luck, they just hired better, more famous replacements. By the time I finished, people would be flocking to see The Mousetrap, starring Ian McKellen, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Dame Maggie Smith. But the audience...
The audience?
Yes! Actors are expendable. But no show can stay open that people are afraid to go to.
Kill audience members.
That's right. One a night, starting on a Thursday.
But the theater would start to guard the doors heavily. You'd never get away with it.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't going to kill them in the theater.
No?
No. No, I'd have a meal at the Ivory right across West Street. And then when the Mousetrap crowd came out, I'd follow them home and kill them.
How would you choose your victims?
Well, my primary criteria would simply be that they left the theater alone, which would make my work easier, safer, more humane, really. Well, I figured that anyone who had to go see the Mousetrap and couldn't get a date probably wouldn't have that much to live for anyway.
What was your plan?
Well, the first part was simplicity itself. I'd kill the first four, Thursday, Friday, 2 on Saturday, matinee, you know, and a break. I mean, if needed, I could always knock off one more Monday night. But you see, the Sunday break would not only give the London police time to figure things out, but it would also serve as a clue to the theater-based pattern of the crime.
But what if they hadn't still figured out the connection to the Mousetrap?
That very idea is an insult to the British people. This is their law enforcement we're discussing, not their cuisine. No. By Monday, probably by Saturday, the Mousetrap menace would be the talk of all the tabloids. And by Tuesday, it would close.
Yes, but they'd soon remember the man who tried to stop the production through loud shouting and illegal maneuvers. You would be the prime suspect.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I suppose if I knew back then that I'd be killing people, well, I wouldn't have shouted so loud. No matter. They could suspect me as much as they wanted to, but they'd never be able to pin these murders on me.
Why not?
Because I'd have been in Belgium when they were committed.
In Belgium. How is that possible?
Well, between you and me, it really isn't. But my presence in Antwerp at the times in question would nonetheless have been well witnessed and documented.
Alibi.
Yes! That was the more complex part of my plan. A mite too complex, perhaps. It required a fake passport, 2 false mustaches, a pair of water wings, a strong electromagnet, and a thorough knowledge of Belgian history. I had it all worked out. I had just priced electromagnets and picked up a copy of Flemish for Dummies. And just when everything seemed primed to succeed, I was suddenly filled with a terrifying question. Why?
Why? Why murder?
No, not that. Look, McClellan said that the Mousetrap switched to a larger theater after more than 20 years. Why? There had to be a reason. Now, I checked online, and I learned that the show moved out of the St. Martin's to make room for the Mousetrap was another famous stage thriller, Anthony Schaffer's Sleuth.
Oh, I've seen that film.
Yeah, well, that's because that show closed. Anyway, it seems that late one night, Schaffer, totally plastered, covered the walls of the ambassadors with signs, accurately quoting Christie's own opinion of her play, which she had confided to him earlier. They were, "It's a silly little piece, and I wish it would go away."
And that upset her.
I don't know, but it certainly upset Peter Saunders, owner of both theaters, who kicked Sleuth out of the St. Martin's and moved over the Mousetrap to replace it. I mean, that was it. That explained it.
Explained what?
The problem. It wasn't my bad luck. It wasn't my personal battle with the Mousetrap. They treated Anthony Schaffer the same way. It's contrariness, that's what it is. Contrariness, the same contrariness that lies at the heart of the whodunit genre and defines the entire life and work of Agatha Christie. Well, it accounts for the surprise, the guilt of all those least likely suspects in her work, and also explains how a genteel woman from the staid English countryside became the international symbol of crime and intrigue. Everything in the world of Agatha Christie is topsy-turvy. Nothing acts as you expect, especially the Mousetrap. It's not a play. It's an odious, contrary monster that feeds on adversity. Yes! The more you try to destroy it, the stronger it will grow. And that's exactly what I've been doing by attacking it. I've actually been feeding and nurturing it. But to be fair, I was hardly the first. Christie started it with her bad writing, and then Schaffer with his attacks. And who knows how many actors have made it stronger over the years by giving lousy performances.
So you gave up the murder idea?
Yeah, I knew it wouldn't help. The mousetrap wouldn't close. It would thrive.
Breaking new records, house filled to capacity every night.
Frat boys would impress their girlfriends by daring to attend the show.
Hey, it's part Agatha Christie, part Russian roulette. It's the best show in town.
People would proudly wear t-shirts emblazoned with "I survived the mousetrap."
With new set pieces and costumes courtesy of Miles Edworth Merbeneau.
Merbeneau! After I finished with my 4 murders, the management would probably hire a hitman just to keep the place packed.
Whoops, there goes another one. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant!
Nothing could kill it! It would never die!
So what was next for you?
Nothing really. I got a refund on the Flemish book and the water wings. I saved a lot of money by not buying an electromagnet. Those things are expensive.
But you turned yourself into the police station.
Well, you see, after a while, I began to wonder if maybe there wasn't some hope. I mean, perhaps I could succeed if I could just think on the mousetrap's own terms, opposites. I mean, killing people clearly wouldn't hurt the mousetrap, but maybe, just maybe, my taking the punishment for it would. Oh, I also made an anonymous contribution of $300 to the theater. That should do a little harm.
So that brings us to today.
Yep, today. That's it, Doc. My whole story. What do you think now? Am I crazy?
No, Mr. Merbeneau. I don't think you're crazy. I think you're rather foolish.
Foolish? How?
Well, suppose there are 2 men that are facing one another at a distance of 50 feet. Each tries to throw a rock at the other. For one man, covering that distance is very easy. For the other, quite difficult. Why?
Does their nationality have something to do with it?
No, but their location does. One man is leaning out of the 6th floor window of a building. The other one is standing on the sidewalk below. Throwing a rock straight up into the air 50 feet is quite difficult even for a strong man. But covering the same distance because of gravity is as easy as opening your hand.
Your point being?
A fool fights the forces of nature. A wise man employs those forces to his own advantage. The mousetrap is clearly such a force stronger than you, and you've been fighting it.
Yeah, but now I've tried to help the mousetrap.
Oh, come on. Your efforts have been half-hearted. Come on, $300. And did you really expect the police to jail you for that absurd confession of lethal intent?
Why not?
How long have you been living in the U.S., Mr. Merbeneau?
All my life.
Well, then you know that in this country, we rarely incarcerate people for actually killing other people. Much less planning the attempt to do it.
Yeah, I suppose you're right, but... Well, what would you have me do?
Well, to begin with, I would resign and resolve.
Resign and resolve?
Yes, I would resign yourself to that which you cannot do and resolve yourself to that which you can. Kind of like a serenity prayer.
I don't need the serenity prayer.
Do you have a mantra?
I don't need a mantra. I don't need affirmations. They're just words.
Words shape our thoughts. Thoughts shape our actions, and our actions shape our destinies.
Okay, so maybe I need a mantra. Do you happen to have one handy?
I believe that people ought to create their own mantras, but I can give you a suggestion, which you can later customize and adapt.
Okay, great.
Okay, repeat after me. I cannot kill the mousetrap.
I cannot kill the mousetrap.
But I am not helpless.
There's more?
Yes, quite a bit more. Maybe you ought to write this down. Okay. I cannot kill the mousetrap.
Cannot kill the mousetrap.
But I'm not helpless.
But I am not helpless.
Next line. Destiny is my No, wait. Destiny is to me both slave and master. Next line. I take the action that I must. Next line,
Must.
I take the one path open to me.
So that's my mantra?
That's your mantra.
Okay. So now I've got a mantra. Now what?
Jump out that window.
Wait, what?
Jump out that window. That one there.
You're crazy?
I believe it was your sanity that was in question.
Yeah, but why would I mean, that's 4 stories. I'd kill myself.
Yes, it's not exactly rock throwing distance, but I think it will do the trick.
You are crazy. I'm not going to jump out any window.
I'm afraid I must insist.
You're going to kill me. You're trying to kill me.
Yes, you grasped the fact quite quickly, Mr. Murvino.
But why? You have no reason.
This from a man who would kill 5 people just for attending the theater.
Well, that was different. Besides, you wouldn't get away with it.
Wouldn't I?
Oh, no, it's not so easy to just kill anybody. Take my word for it.
But you're not just anybody, Mr. Murvino. Please, have a seat. You're right. If you were anybody else, I wouldn't have a reason to kill you. And frankly, if you were anybody else, I might have to worry about you running away. But we're not like other people. We're enthusiasts. We love the art of it. There's no reason for this. But you do intrigue me. You say I wouldn't get away with it. Why?
Well, as soon as I fell out that window, people would rush up here and find you.
No. There's no one around.
What?
Not on this side of the building, anyway. And there's only 2 cars in the parking lot. Your 99 Honda and my Nissan rental.
Well, that's odd.
Well, not when you think about it. I mean, the fact of the matter is there are very few places as lonely as a non-family residential building on a mid-workday morning. Everybody's out making their daily bread. It's a good economic sign, really. You know, I've always wondered why home robberies happen in the middle of the night. It's between the times of 10:30 and noon on a Thursday that nobody's watching their belongings. You know, I think your body won't be found for quite some time, and by that time, I'll be out of California.
Out of California?
Yes, by 6:30, I'll be hundreds of miles away, making my presence there very conspicuous when your next-door neighbor, Mrs. O'Doherty, I believe it is, comes home and hears your voice coming through these paper-thin walls.
Well, but how would she hear my voice?
Cardboard characters, cliche situations, stilted humor, and a surprise twist anyone could see coming a mile off.
Of course, I'll have to edit my own voice out, but whether she thinks you're ranting to yourself or talking on the telephone to somebody else, I doubt she'll be bothered by the leaps in logic, especially coming from you.
Of course. The dictograph alibi. Christie used it.
Yes, it was a very common alibi in the 1920s, which Christie brilliantly used in her most famous novel. Oh, this one right here.
Yeah, but how did you?
I'm afraid I wasn't totally truthful about my ignorance of Agatha Christie's works. I've read them all. Of course, my version of the alibi will have a modern twist.
What modern twist?
Oh, no. Dictograph or phonograph to get rid of later. Just as car radios are used as speakerphones, your voice will come over your speakers via my iPhone from afar through a Bluetooth relay and a smart plug. Oh, those gentlemen at the Genius Bar in the Apple Store were so helpful.
But, what if my body is found before my voice is heard?
Oh, I don't think there's much chance of that. Your body will fall on that 4-foot strip of concrete that lies behind the rear of this building and the property divide wall. No one looks down there. It'll be getting dark before anyone comes home anyway, and they don't look down there because they have no reason to.
Yeah, but aren't you worried about forensics? I mean, they'll prove I was dead hours before I was last heard speaking.
Frankly, I don't think you'll be found for days. And anyway, though, despite what you see on CSI, I don't think they'll narrow it down all that tightly. They won't need to because they won't be looking for any foul play. Once they find your suicide note.
Suicide note.
Written in your own handwriting. I take the action I must. I take the one path open to me.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll have to cut off the top, all that drivel about the mousetrap and destiny as slave and master.
The abridged message taken as suicide note. Christy used that too.
Yes. Oh, she used it so much more cleverly than I. But, you know, you can't win them all. Can you, cousin?
No, I guess. Cousin?
We're the last of the Murbinos.
The last?
Yeah, you're right. Mohicans does sound better. But I am your second cousin, Lee Murbineau. Remember, Lee is also a woman's name.
Of course. Lee Murbineau. The gender equivocal given name. Another Christy device! Oh!
Yes, I suppose a combination of the name Lee and the title financial analyst lead people to believe I'm somehow a man. Really quite sexist, if you ask me.
I just can't believe it. Cousins. I mean, we don't even look alike.
Well, that's often the case with cousins. Unless you happen to be Patty Duke. Our fathers reconnected in the latter part of their lives. I even recall my father mentioning that he had a cousin who owned the rights to the mousetrap. Well, I quite forgot about it until a friend of mine in England sent me a copy of that clipping that you showed me earlier, having noticed that it was about another person with our most uncommon name. Well, between that clipping and what my father had told me, it wasn't very hard to piece together what you were trying to do.
You want the film rights?
Yes, I too have done my research, and as you have observed, there's very little out there about our family. But I was able to confirm that I'm your next of kin and the heir in the event of your demise. And the more I learned about you, the more I figured that people wouldn't be very surprised by your self-destruction.
You're gonna kill me for the film rights. Oh.
I figured a week's vacation would be all it would take. I arrived here last Friday, and I spent the last few days in surveillance, observing you and your neighbors. Oh, I'll admit, that trip to the police station really gave me a scare. But it also allowed me the idea for my approach. That afternoon, I scattered 3 fresh $20 bills on your concrete landing strip down there, just to see if my theory about no one looking down there was right. I was right. Today, before I came up here, I fished them out, and $60 is $60. And yesterday, I performed my last homage to the great Dame Agatha. I simply called you up, said I was from the county, and that we were sending a member of our psychology staff over in the morning.
Of course, of course! The phone call preparing for the phony official visit. Christy used that too! In fact, she used it in...
Yeah! It seems that even in the weakest of her works, there are nuggets of incredible brilliance. Oh, to think I might be illegitimately related to her. Well, my vacation is almost up. There is so much to do in between your departure and mine. I have to cut off the top of that note. I have to make sure the receiver is on. I have to ditch this gun somewhere between here and the Bob Hope Airport. Is it really called the Bob Hope Airport? I have to drop off the rental car, and then I have to arrive there early enough to give TSA sufficient time to feel me up before I return to Arizona. Busy, busy, busy. So much to do. And about those film rights.
They won't do you any more good than they've done me. You'll never be able to bring down the mousetrap.
Perhaps not. And I certainly will not try after what you've told me today. But I still have other options. I could put the rights up on a website. No, an auction site like eBay. Or Christie's. Some Christie fanatic is sure to bite. Oh, and who knows? The way film companies play around with write-offs and tax shelters, somebody might want it as a property that can't be used.
Talk about the contrariness of Christie.
Yes, it is about time for us to embark on our respective journeys. Mine of aviation and yours of defenestration. But tell me, before I go, do you think my plan will work? What do you think about it?
Well, it's ingenious, but very ingenious.
Oh, thank you. That means a great deal to me, coming from you. Oh, but tell me, now that you've heard it all, do you think it will work?
No. No, I don't think it will.
Why not?
It's too ingenious.
Too ingenious?
Yes, too ingenious. It won't run a week.